Hello, my name is Kevin Bateman and this water has passion. In Coole Park, Gort, Coventry, County Galway. This poem is called Growth. Green grass grows until seeds are born, forever until death. Down will creep legs, until which we discover. I cannot tell you much except pain. This poem is called Give Life. We look up, our eyes are buried. It is nature. Wax can burn the skin, but can it vomit in public? The pain will filter tears. Thank you. I give you Karen J McDonnell.
The swimmer. Something said, enough now. In his favoured cove, currents tendrilled around him, his curls garlanded by reeds of seaweed. If Poseidon does exist, here was his godson, immersed before toddling, treading water. If Poseidon does exist, here was his godson, immersed before talking, treading water before toddling. The tide stole a gentle soul, but they gave his body back. The jar of seawater at the altar was the real killer. Thurlock. A benign pondling straight from Constable's studio. Cattle graze calcific patches on a summering canvas. Then rains, in on the Atlantic, malevolent down the mountains. Underground drowns, a new sinkhole in reverse, spewing. Roads disappear, fields are islanded, sense lines tangle. Your water mischief engulfs us. We are lost. An invitation to the late Mr. Yeats. Return. Regenerate like Coole's flooded gardens. This birthday, renew your initials on the copper beach. Stay a while. Listen to swan wings whack October's lake. Look for light. Svelte, slivering into the seven woods. Thank you.
And I give you Mary Maxwell.
The first poem is called For Sale. Between the lost and found, a mislaid marcasite earring. Reward. Suitcase with child's clothing, lost in Dublin or on the 2:30 train to Cork. Reward. Lost brooch, sentimental value. Reward. Strayed Irish terrier. Reward. Blackberries wanted, top prices paid. We collect or pay carriage for unblemished fruit. Between the lost and found, notices. Who will adopt a beautiful 6 weeks old boy of very good parentage? Will Catholic mother adopt Therese, an attractive little girl aged 3, curly hair, healthy, full surrender? Healthy boy, fair, very intelligent, with happy disposition for adoption. Priest's references essential, full surrender given. The column inches glare, black bold type, to lure discerning eyes, babies to snatch, empty arms to fill, bulging pockets to siphon, profits to be made. A donation to the parish priest or one to the nuns. They called the Mass sinners, chopped their hair, changed their names, their births, nighttime lockups, enslaved, servitude. Beatings kept them in line, emotions smacked out, anything to make those Magdalene women conform. And the men? The men who spread the seeds? Unblemished stock. We don't forget. The planes hit, obliterating child, mother, father, sister, brother, uncle, aunt, vanished, evaporated, floating on the morning breeze, down the skyscrapers like human helicopters making a landing. And the grief rose like tsunami, volcano, tremors of shattering earthquake, all of it muffled in the dust of lovers, friends, soulmates. And then the rains, they came, God's tears, cooling the fires of hell and death, cleansing, washing, cadaver, bone fragments, lives and loves, to where they collected in the avenues, subways and underground, swirling masses swimming, conjoined, black, white, Jew, Italian, one in that moment, 8:45 a.m., 9:03 a.m., fused. And the tough-talking native New Yorkers took their tired, their broken, their rich, their poor, and the world looked on and wept, and wept. Then the sun arose and the wind it lifted, particles, essence, soul, scattering, sifting, seeding from north to south, east to west, across the plains, the fields, the mountains, citywide, nationwide, worldwide. We carry them on wings of hopes and dreams, and we will remember. Severed connections. All those bones, all those bodies, all those secrets. And where are the daddies who split the thighs, spilt the seed, who hid and ran, still running as the missus carries the load? Where are those daddies? Those fine, upstanding pillars, come from good stock, respectable families, well known, well regarded, where daddy and granddaddy split thighs and spilt seeds. Where do they go to, my lovelies? Underground? Overground? Flight of the fucking pillars. And you, Mother Ireland, believe those days are gone. What of the bent and twisted spines, crushed livers, spleens and rib cages, flooded lungs drowning day by day? Your children, Ireland's vision of the best place for children in the world. And still you line your pockets, your coffers, while the crush goes on. Rotten mouths and crumbling teeth, dentists on their knees upon a suppliant child, while doctor takes pliers and pulls, tugs, the sawing of tender gums and bone, until the socket lets go with a wet suckling. The clink as it lands in the stainless steel bowl. This year's allotment funded, the one beside must wait, give the toxins time to rot, gum, tooth and bone, no matter the pain. And still Vera walks, arthritic knees, tonsillitis, driving March rains, sleet and dank cold. 260 kilometres a second time, Cork to Dublin, to fling herself prostrate at the Doyle master's feet, who wished you gave them more time. Time your wee ones don't have, Time that no one gave the bones and bone dust settled on the tume grasses where wildflowers refused to grow. And Ireland, motherfucking Ireland, your people wail, rage, and still you line your pockets, your coffers, while your people sleep the streets, the alleyways, tent cities and cardboard mattresses, just a space to call home. And Morris, who was good, of fine standing and integrity, you bent and bowed and urged him break, and his wife, his children you whipped over and over, and still he did not break. And the people who flee these shores don't only abandon country and kin, with suicide the only other option. They leave in droves, and sure, why wouldn't they? There's nothing here but rank waste. And the good ones, the thousands, millions who stay because they believe in Mother Ireland, it's time to untie these binds. Thank you.
And I give you Rachel Coventry.
A subjective history of orchids. As a child, I saw African orchids on TV. They were salacious. I was guilty. Collectors who were men first raped the rainforests in order to harvest every single orchid. The suffragettes attacked the orchid house at Keogh. It was a bastion of male brutality. Some are not beautiful but still transfix, some kill. Darwin wrote a book, Various Contrivances by Which Orchids Are Fertilized by Insects. It does not illuminate anything. It is not altogether clear whether orchids actually originate here on this planet. Real orchids are sometimes mistaken for plastic. Indigenous Irish orchids will not embarrass you. They huddle among pale rocks in the burren. One summer I found them on rough ground at Westside, among beer cans and condoms. This summer there were none. Electrification. My mother never saw a penguin until, as a young woman, she visited Edinburgh Zoo. She was astonished. By the time I was 25, there was nothing left new. Those eggs they eat in Thailand with a fully developed chicken side gave me pause for a second, but by 29, every image had already been burned into my brain, sequences of blazing neurons, every possible combination, and though I liked the phosphorescence, even that was supplemented with those mushrooms and that Australian who came later to visit me in London. My mother remembers electrification, but in 98 I brushed against heaven and it wasn't all that. All metaphors are flawed. The moral is generally something to do with darkness. The moral is a response to a failure of character. The moral is it's difficult to say who the wolf is. There cannot be a moral without a story. In this story, the wolf is closing in. In this story, the wolf is a symbol. The moral is you stood too close. In this story, there is no wolf. In a wolf, there is no story. Anyone who is not wolf will not get this story. Up close, you are flesh. Up close, imperfect, your skin, imperfect, flakes in your hair. No moral, no story, just you there. Thank you.
And I give you Niall Slevin.
Mine wind, for all who mind Arigna. I breathe into you and yours as you work towards Earth's core, and carry the love you leave behind on days spent digging for life. You leave your own to battle coal, war stone, smother foes with explosions of rock, bullets that streak like stars slain by sky, prostrate under the weight of water, to drown in sumps, shelter and gob. Your weapons are not the sword or gun, but clips and caps, hutch, a cart for those mourned only by the foreman's truce. Their funeral your trek into darkness, the wounded day's retreat. Camouflaged by falling night, you pause in thanks to him. Embrace the safety of votive light, then let it fade with distance. Wait for dawn. Glencar, where the wandering water gushes from the hills above Glencar. W.B. Yeats. Through the mist rain you'll see me, from forest, road or heathered hill. Though I am surrounded by others, none fall harder than I. In the north I rise to descend, straddle borders of grey ridge and seashell. I am the residue of Ben Bulben's sorrow, on land still mourning a stolen child. My pearls of sadness fill this valley. Tears echo all who are lost. Grief is a torrent no one can hold back. These barite speckled cliffs are heart, hardened by drought, gnawed at by time. This moss hair stroked only by life's murdering hand. My cliff face is so steep, none who climb it survive. Man's heartbreak so deep, there is always water to cry. The world's more full of weeping than I can understand. The Gaelic chieftain. With the stars raining light, my shadows flecked. Stars that stream like tears from the eyes of a crying sky. Tears that streak the face of night in grief for what's long lost. What I alone have won, I who will not die. Draped in ebony black, I stand against your darkness, winds that shriek the curlew's call. I know they howl to me of death, but I must not yield to them. To them I will not fall. I who ride through time and space, my horse's route not road nor rising hillside. I, whom all must pass and face, to know my honour and my pride. Not even when this battle ends, daylight reigns and peacetime calls, will I rest. I will outlive the dawn. I wait for it with swords embrace. My wrath guards the west. My war will rage on. Thank you.
And I give you Louise G Cole. We have to do it again. Apologise.
I caught you out.
Lisa C. Taylor.
This poem is called In Galway. I have watched rain write its name on dark streets and stone walls, as if to plant something soundlessly in the crevices with an outpouring that might warn or heal. Rain is a haze and patter, stippling sidewalks, crowds shrouded under umbrellas. I am not afraid to be drenched or to wail like wind. It's the discarded nuance of grey I'm after, and the Corrib haunting flinty streets until traffic slows, day curves into night, and rain tells a story of death and seeds, how everything must change to come into its gleaming. This is called Possible Island. The sky flings open, and a flock of grackles dizzy the broad pasture. I imagine the first surge in the field of dawn, drip of sunlight, cracking open the barn door. Days like this, I hold my breath for something to leap out with 100 inky wings, scarred beaks that swallow air. My life, hips, belly, fingers, fertile enough, inhaling what this is, the dark silk of the sea. Across stone walls, by winterberry and dogwood, a soaking wind, sharp as bones. I bring myself to every island with its mossy logs and whelks, a dinghy somewhere waiting. And this is called the Church of the Six Winds. In the night, the bleating goat wind comes calling, plaintive cry that seeps under the door until the animal is at my bedside, rubbing his white horned head against my pillow, and I want to give him hay, a promise, and a ring. I kneel praying to the long-haired woman in the moor's wind, her dune-colored locks stirred up like a lapwing, beating wings in a crazed tumble through laden air. Stranger rapping at the door wind arrives in time for tea. 4 short, 1 long. Windows answer with breathy sighs, familiar moans. This morning the wind walks shoeless on a stone wall. A tentative cry leads me to unlock the door, gather her into my arms, make scones with fresh cream and honey. In the afternoon the wind turns old, full of rheumatism and rotting teeth, a shallow exhalation that takes unnaturally long. Now, wind is a sure lover, hands all over me, drawing breath in sharp little intakes. I'm panting so hard I forget to hold on to my cap, and he takes it, holding it high, as I chase him down a path rimmed with brambles, collapse amid spurge and milkwort, exhausted, reverent.
And I give you Louise G Cole. Again.
Watermarked. The teeming river's upright heron casts my father, alert, slim and spike-beaked, beady-eyed in two-tone grey, topped with a slick, black-backed comb-over, feathers presented neat, formal, unruffled, observing life and love, respecting fast water, watching calmly without comment. Unspoken childhood hardship shaped a quiet man, stoic, strengths hidden in patience, reserve, attention to detail, small pleasures in unusual pastimes, ships in bottles, keeping bees, Austin Sevens, high-flying kites of his own making. Like the heron, solemn, straight and steady, taking flight only when required. Just for me, on days when needy, rattled, hopeless, I catch his unexpected shape overhead, majestic wing beat recalling that special day, when through a single thought, so intense with longing, need manifested a grey heron, waiting on the gatepost, regarding my arrival with a stern look, inscrutable but so familiar, composed, sombre, self-contained, concerned, watching calmly without comment. I saluted, was sure I saw him almost smile. Understanding possession. Whenever I see red, you're across the room, back turned to me, sycophantic wannabes hanging on your every word, siren souls, flirting, offering such wit, charm, good looks, expensive gifts, as if any of that matters to you. I know it shouldn't turn your head, but I long for it to be me alone to hold your gaze. Keep private those secret things said and done, deep places explored in the soft, sticky hours before dawn. Colour-drenched kicks they'll never know of, only speculating when hints of me float from your paintings, serenades, poems. They might wonder at the muse who conjures stripes of turquoise, crushed ochre, taupe, flings them sky high, a flock of little birds to mark a shocking summer outburst, when red poppies snagged my vision, and I raged against sharing you, shook out my hurt, broadcast it from high places. And this is finally Dirty Little Dresses. Back when you were still mine, before school but after cradle, we'd Wednesday walk to the village hall, puffing dragon's breath across dim-lit benches and trestle tables, our voices echoing bathroom style. At my feet you spilled day-glow orange squash, the kind I wouldn't have in the house, while I sipped something tepid and vaguely coffee-flavoured from a plastic mug, tried making big the small talk with the other mothers. All these years later, I am surprised at your recall of the precious poppet pushed through the door, always dressed in impossibly white frocks, pretty, pristine, seldom up for finger painting or sandpitting. She played quiet, solo games, emerging clean, unruffled, remarked by a loud, proud parent, while you came back to me messy and wild, hand-painted, squashed and sandpapered. You said you always had a thing for her, snow whiteness, until secondary school, when she went goth and the dresses darkened to black, salacious slashes revealing flashes of snail trail scars on pale flesh. Neither of us heard what became of the pushy mother. Thank you.
And I give you Ashley and Keogh.
This is called Sink. A Spanish sun haze, saplings, and the lull of water lapping on Huckleberry Jetty. Grass carpet and rose hips, silence settling in between us, your face upturned to the swaying tips of fur. And all the while I'm wondering why the willow weeps, and thinking about sinkholes and crawl spaces. This is called Dissonance. I come from nowhere, a faceless city suburban street at home in someone else's house. I come from where a big back garden fenced me in, and from where the steam rolled down windows and talk about my head pressed down on me, and love was served on a plate. Portion size mattered, and weight was a reason to fake injury on a not level playing field. I come from coddle simmered on a Saturday afternoon, from pork and gravy and black pepper and Panadol ground in jam, and from the television and the radio vying for attention above slamming doors and sirens and the roar of traffic and the piercing wail of a lost child. From my grandmother's kitchen on sticky, slippy lino and cicatrin on open wounds. I come from a place behind a curtain drawn for privacy, the stabbing pain, the sting of a wasp's tail in the boot of Grandad's car, and where Dad's arms lifted me up to the safety of a pink-frilled bed, and where cabbage butterflies escaped my net and taught me that beauty cannot be held. I come from scratchy wool and stone wash, thin Lizzie haircuts, and waiting rooms and trolleys and opal fruits, sweet consolation from a stranger. Sitting in my blue velvet dress, wide white-collar mess, wondering how to spell emigration, and how far exactly is 150 miles, because it felt like everyone was leaving, and where a question about place needs a story telling. But now I am the gateway to the Corrib, blue mountains touching the sky, infinite across the province. I am mayfly and boxes of bait on wooden tables at the Lakeshore Hotel, and sunsets on silver lakes. I am lighthouse swims and fuchsia hedgerows, open roads, Guinness payments, dancing barefoot on rough boards. I am singing in kitchens and tunes roared in a bar, born to run baby when the saxophone soars. I am my brother's song at crescendo, when it bursts and kisses the stars in a coal-black sky untouched by city lights. I am open fields, apple falling, chanting at the moon, and guitar smiles. I am all that is yet to come.
And I give you Charlie Chase.
Kevin, can I speak here?
Yeah.
So I have a question first. Do you guys have the game Hide and Seek, child's game? Okay, all right. So that's the name of the first poem, Hide and Seek. I thought it was that poem. What did I do? Hide and seek. They don't try to find you. You can hear your friends' voices and laughter fading as they walk back to their houses. Did they just forget about you? That you were even there? Or maybe they did know and left you behind intentionally. All that remains are the dirt you lie in, the branch that presses into your back, the spice odor of yew needles. The game you thought you had won, outsmarting them all, has brought an end to all games. You stay under the bush even after they've gone, with the bloodshot berries and the chickadees knocking needles onto your nylon jacket. The perfect hiding place. They would never have found you. And now they are never going to find you. A long black beetle scurries close to your hand. A large yellow spider in a web 3 inches from your head. Creepy, dangerous. Dusk and into dark, no one comes looking for you. Finally, you wriggle out and return home. No one notices. You don't say a word. They don't know you're not really there anymore. You're the champion hider in a place they can't even imagine, and you're never coming out. Okay. It's called Roommates. Just as I turn the handle and push the door open, the back door is closing behind him. When I go back out, he returns, perfectly synchronized. Right now, for instance, he'll be home, lounging on the sofa, watching God knows what useless shows on TV, or dreaming up stories he'll never write, or planning campouts in the woods. When I come home, tired from the job, he's heading off on some escapade. He never does any work, never picks up the house, never vacuums, never washes the dishes, never mows the lawn or brings in firewood. It's obvious he's taking advantage of me. I've awakened from sleep knowing he's been there, pawing through my belongings. He uses my car, borrows my favorite clothes, the ones too casual for work that I never get to wear. My dogs like him better than me. They come to me all waggy and expectant, but somehow I always disappoint them. It's the same with my kids. A couple of news bites and they wander off. I've tried to talk to my wife about him, but she just gets upset. She says he's a lot of fun. I wonder what he means by that. I've thought of staying home all the time like him, but how would we pay the bills, the mortgage? I want to complain to him or ask him to leave, but I never catch him. I don't know why he always avoids me. Maybe if we talked, we'd be friends. I could really use a friend. Okay. This one's called Black Moth. Last night she said something to me, and as she spoke, a black moth came out of her mouth. It was not the first time, but I had never really noticed before. I watched to see if it would happen again, but she turned away and went to sleep. I sat in my chair reading. The moth circled the light, wrapping it and casting shadows. My concentration broken, I poured myself a bowl of cereal, but moths fell out with the flakes. The moths were flying around the house, and I was swatting them, leaving black smudges on the walls. Several hid in my closet, and as I pushed the clothes about, I noticed holes in my sweaters and suits. Honey, I called, but she said, I don't want to talk about it right now. I looked at my clothes and the moths circling the light. I approached the bed to wake her and have her talk with me, but there was a moth crawling on her lips like a black kiss. I stood for a moment and watched, careful not to disturb her antennae. Thank you.
Hold it. Film the end of it. We get everyone over here?
We finished. Oh no, is that it?
That's it,
Is there
isn't it?
no
Yeah.
more? Is that everybody?
That's everybody, yeah.
Oh, let's just get into it.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Nice job. Right. You alright, Karen?
I am the unofficial photographer. God, I really enjoyed it.
Barbara's my AD.
Fabulous. Yeah,
Might as well be.
beautiful. Too short, Kevin.
4 tries? Jesus. That's never happened before.
Too
Can you
short.
get one side or inside, or can we get
Yeah,
in
it's
the
a
middle,
bit,
or
yeah.
can we get us all in a row, some sort of way? I just squeeze in there. We all in the in the line?
You get
Yeah,
us all
just-
in?
Yeah, that's lovely now.
Hello, my name is Kevin Bateman, and this is This Water Has Passion in Coole Park, Gort, County Galway. I give you Lisa C. Taylor. You have to bow. Charlie Chase. Neil Slevin. You can walk up to the camera if you want. Doesn't matter, really. Louise G Cole. Karen J McDonnell. Mary Maxwell. Ashleen Keogh. Am I missing someone?
Yes.
Rachel Coventry. And Kevin Bateman. And we're all bow.
Woo! Woohoo!
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 1 second.